Welcome to Balanced Life with Debbie Carlin Boyle. Conversations connecting to a healthier you. The show that gives you all the latest and greatest health and wellness information to inspire you to live a life of balance and joy. Debbie Carlin Boyle is a health and nutrition coach, personal trainer, and fitness instructor who helps her clients live in balance with everything that feeds us, in addition to the food on our plate. Please welcome your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to Balanced Life with me, Debbie Carlin Boyle, your host. I'm so happy that you are with us today. We have a great show, and it's something I'm very passionate about, something I do and something I endorse big time, because balanced life means so many things. And of course, it has to include exercise. And being the exercise fanatic I am, I like to explore many forms of it, one of which is boxing. So today's show is going to focus on just that with my very special guest and boxing champion, Swenson. Aaron is a former professional kickboxer and a two-time national kickboxing champion. Born and raised in Chicago, Aaron is going to share his journey to make it to California and how he ultimately was able to open up his first boxing studio here in Santa Monica. So with me today, to share his passion for boxing and all its amazing benefits, will you please welcome my guest, Aaron Swenson, to my show?
Yeah.
Yay, Aaron. Go. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, my God. That was so...
That was a good intro.
Yeah, I feel really... so I have to say that I box with Aaron, and I'm new to it. I know how to kickbox and do the Taibo thing, but the putting the gloves on and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's like, wait, you said that all the odds are on the left, and then all of a sudden the odds were on the right, and that was because we switched sides. So anyway, it's a learning curve, I must say, and it's so much fun, so fun.
So can you give me some honest feedback about class yesterday?
Oh, it was really fun.
Is it intimidating?
No, well, not for me, because
Okay.
being in the fitness world, I teach and I'm careful to, and I teach a spin class, so it's high intensity,
Right.
and I get new people all the time who are not familiar with that, and I have a sensitivity to being sensitive to them. And so I felt that you were very giving. I mean, I think this is the third class maybe I've taken with you, and you're very patient and very concise, and yet you have a rhythm. I hear you're in my head, like the way you move and the way and we're going to talk about that today, because we're going to talk about the music relation to actually working your body in relation to the music and the boxing moves.
That has been a heck of a learning curve for me,
I bet.
because I didn't have a music background a couple years ago.
So to integrate that, I want to get to that, but I want to hear a little bit about you. And knowing that you were from Chicago, I want to hear a little bit about your childhood and what brought you to boxing and being these kickboxing champions that you were and stuff. Where did that come from?
So my father was a martial artist and a boxer. So from the time I could walk, he had me boxing.
Okay.
And our garage was always a dojo. And then we'd go to different martial arts studios and we would train together. And sometimes we'd do karate tournaments together.
Oh,
So
fun.
he would fight in the adult division, I would fight in the kids division. And I was terrified to watch him fight. I was always so nervous.
Because he might get hurt?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So that was our passion together my whole childhood. But my dad is a bit of a character. And when you're around 13 or 14 years old, you don't want to do anything that involves your dad.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided I didn't want...
Yeah, feels
exactly.
that way. It's true.
So I told my dad one day, I don't want to do martial arts anymore. He goes, all right, you'll come back to it one day. I'm like, no, I won't. And I end up, skateboarding and doing other things.
Yeah.
And kind of being a rebel throughout middle school and high school. I got in a lot of trouble. And I was lost.
Because you were floundering a little bit, right? Like just looking for, and it's a normal age for that to happen, because it's puberty
and
and
you're hormonal and
going wacko, and your frontal lobe isn't developed yet to be reasonable about things. And, anything a parent says, you're going to say black if they say white, or white if they say black, just because, So it's a hard time for, I think, most kids. It's a hard time. So
well,
did you get in
it definitely was
trouble?
for me. I got in a lot of trouble. I was getting arrested all the time.
Oh,
and
for what?
Fighting.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you
Drinking underage, vandalism,
Ooh.
barely making out of high school, selling drugs. Like, it was a really tough time. I was completely lost and rebellious, and I had no respect for any sort of authority.
By right. It sounded like you were looking to be loved. You were looking to find your passion and for somebody to acknowledge you in a positive way.
I agree with that.
And not that your parents didn't, but
it wasn't the kind of support that I needed.
right,
For
exactly.
sure.
And sometimes as a parent, we don't know exactly what our kids need, but it's different in every case. So
I'm
what?
learning a lot about that right now too, but we'll come back to that.
Oh, okay. So what was your turnaround? What was
After high school? I was taking some classes at a community college and failing them and could care less, waiting tables, trying to survive.
Yeah, I was going to say, trying to live.
And my dad goes, why don't you go check out this kickboxing gym? It's right by your college, and I've heard good things about this guy. And I thought, what the heck? I'm going to do it. And I walked in, and this guy, Kyle McElroy, my first kickboxing coach, took me under his wing and became my mentor. And I fell in love with kickboxing, and
That's
I fell
what you
in
needed.
love. That's what I needed.
Passion.
And a positive mentor and somebody I really looked up to.
There we go.
So
The two things that I just mentioned you were looking for, you found, it sounds like. And how old were you at this point?
18.
Okay.
So within a couple months, I was fighting because all of the training that I had when I was a kid stuck with me.
It's like riding a bike, muscle memory, as we well know. Yeah.
So I spent the next 5 or 6 or 7 years fighting as an amateur. And that's when I won my 2 national championships. And I got a chance to travel overseas and fight in Portugal and all these things I couldn't have ever fathomed prior to that.
Wow.
And it was a wonderful experience. And then I ended up coming to California for a fight, actually, in San Francisco. And I found a new mentor. This guy owned a gym called Undisputed. And he walked into the gym, and I'm like, I want to be like that guy. And he was a world champ and owned this beautiful gym in San Fran. And I was living in a suburb of Chicago, and nothing like that existed.
Yeah.
So I was mind blown.
This was out of your realm of anything that you thought might be a possibility.
Yes.
And here it was staring at you.
Yes. So I go back to Chicago, and I go, I gotta move. I gotta move to California. Well, I was just waiting tables. It wasn't making any money fighting. That was just a passion. And trying to make it. So I'm like, what can I do? How can I make enough money to get to California? My uncle had a company where he blacktop seal coats driveways in Detroit. And I go, whatever. I'm going to pack my bag. I'm going to go work for him, and I'm going to do it for a few months. It wasn't even the right direction, but I'm like, yeah, it's a step in the right direction because I'm getting rid of all my stuff, and I had a backpack, and I'm like, I'm going to do this. So I go to Detroit, and I worked there for a few months. Didn't save enough money to make it to California. But in the midst of that, a friend told me that there was a gym called LA Boxing that was opening up in downtown Chicago. And I go, that's cool. And I'm like, I'll do that. I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to move to downtown Chicago. I never lived in the city at this point. And I'm going to go and interview for this company and see if I can teach boxing full time because ultimately that's a goal. And I'll do whatever else I can to make it by. So I walk into this gym, LA Boxing, and had an amazing experience, and that was the first time when I realized I could do this for a living.
So was your passion more about teaching, or did you still want to compete, or did you want to take the competing sort of down on the down low and take the training other people?
Competing to me was always for credibility, to be acknowledged as a good coach.
Okay.
Because back then, there weren't so much, fitness boxing wasn't so prevalent. So if you were a boxing coach, you had to be a boxer. You know what I mean?
Right.
To have true respect.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is I got to win some titles. and I got to get some credibility because ultimately I know I want to own my own school.
Okay.
So I moved to Chicago, and I ended up working for this company for 7 years as their head trainer. And we opened up 3 gyms all over Chicago.
Wow. Look
And they
at
were
you.
massively successful.
Yeah.
Over 1,000 members each one. And I was teaching 60-person classes. No microphone, no music, didn't know anything about that.
With the bags and the gloves?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was a wonderful experience. And I got to travel the world.
Yeah.
And I still competed a little bit, but it was hard to teach people all day and fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was really hard.
I was going to ask about that. So, and your ultimate goal was to to train and teach others. So
And have my own school.
Yeah. So you were there basically, and you just could keep working on that.
Well, I always wanted to fight professionally. I wanted to say that I had some pro fights.
Yeah.
So about 4 or 5 years into working with LA Boxing, I decided I was going to pack a backpack and go to Thailand for a few months and make my pro debut there.
Ah.
So I did that. And that was a heck of an experience.
And you were in Thailand. So you got that experience of being in another country and that culture, and you got to go and learn your craft there too.
And I learned a lot about the clinch, and because their national sport is Muay Thai. Mm-hmm. So they start
Thai.
fighting when they're kids.
Yeah.
They're incredible. And the training is so hard.
I bet.
I could only do it for a couple weeks before I was like, let's have the fight. That was my goal, and I'm getting the heck out of here.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I managed to win the fight. And you can find it on YouTube if you look up Aaron Swenson.
Oh, good.
Thailand
okay.
fight.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then I told my coach, I'm like, dude, I'm done. And I went down to the islands, and I partied for a couple weeks. And it was there. I remember it was there when I'm like, my goal, I don't want to fight anymore. I want to teach. And I traveled for a few months, went to Australia. Long story short, went back to Chicago. Mm-hmm. And taught for a couple years until I saved up enough money to move to California.
Okay. And you got to California and you landed, you were at Box Union, am I correct?
I was at
you were
Box
there?
Union a couple years after moving here.
Okay. Okay. So I want to get to everything that boxing is and where you're at now, and in the interest of time. So when you got here, you worked where? You went right into teaching somewhere?
I did. I worked at a bunch of gyms all over LA. So I
Okay.
was living in the South Bay, and I would drive all over LA all day doing in-homes, working at random gyms
Okay.
for the first couple years.
Yeah.
And it was hard because I had to I had
You
no
had to-
book of business.
No.
And I didn't know anyone.
Got to re-client yourself.
So I
yeah.
was working my ass off. I mean, I was really grinding.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of years of that, Felicia from Box Union, the owner, hit me up on Instagram and said, hey, would you be interested in this new thing? It's like boxing to the beat with mindfulness. And my first instinct was, no.
Were you thinking, because I know Taibo has been around for a really long time, and that was like shadow boxing. It was like box dancing.
Yes.
You know, and that's what I'm trained in. And I was the whole Billy Blank craze for years, and subsequently was able to sub classes and teach it. And now I work privately with my clients. I'll get 3 or 4 clients together at a time, and I've got the music and everything.
Cool.
But were you thinking that's what she was asking of you to do, or did you not understand or not want to get involved with the rhythmic part of what boxing could be to people who otherwise would never step into boxing?
Honestly, it was just so far out of my comfort zone that I didn't want to put the work in. And
Okay.
it kind of scared
Good
me a
honest
little
answer.
bit.
Good honest answer.
I was like, I don't know how,
Like
I don't know
that.
I don't even know what an 8 count is. I don't know anything about music. And
Yeah.
talking about my emotions on a microphone in front of 40 people at that time was really scary.
Yeah.
And finding my voice and being authentic and under those lights.
Yeah. It would be very difficult. And they have big classes over there. So what was the one thing that made you say yes? What made you change your mind?
So I actually
Meeting your
turned
peer?
Felicia down. I went to an audition. This is funny. I went to an audition and I thought I was the man, right? I had been doing this for a decade. I'm like, I'm a pro fighter. I'm going to show you guys. And they're like, that was good, but now we want you to do it to music with mindfulness. Come back next week. And then I drove back and I was so scared and nervous, and I didn't curate a playlist. I didn't even plan anything. On the way there, I'm trying to make a playlist on my phone.
Oh, right.
No
yeah.
experience doing this,
Yeah.
right? And I pull up in the parking lot and I text Felicia and I go, hey, I have a dentist appointment. I can't make it. I completely forgot about it.
Oh,
And I flaked.
God.
And she goes, okay. And then I went back to doing my thing where I was comfortable in Hermosa. And doing
For
my
how long?
in-homes
For how long?
For probably a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But I was living in Hermosa and I wasn't getting anywhere. Right? I felt like isolated there and I didn't feel like there was enough opportunity. One day I'm driving in Santa Monica and I drive by Box Union and Ocean Drive and I'm like, I just have an inkling this is going to be a hit. And I have an inkling that I'm going to learn a lot.
Yeah.
So I hit up Felicia. I go, will you give me one more chance?
Good.
And she goes, yep, come on into Todd's house in the Palisades. And I did. And that's when they offered me the job.
Okay.
And then we basically collaborated. And I brought a lot of technical boxing and authenticity to the brand. And they taught me a lot about music and mindfulness through their Soul Cycle instructors and the other instructors that came on, like Deja Riley, Nicole Williams, the founding coaches. So we developed this thing in Todd's garage, and then we opened up the gym, and it was a learning curve.
Yeah.
But it wasn't at first.
Oh, okay.
We all sucked. We didn't know what we were doing. We were figuring it out. So
I feel like I took a class for when you, how long have they been open?
Probably 2 years now.
Okay, yeah. I feel like I took a class in the beginning. It felt like they knew what they were doing. Well,
It's
as
evolved.
a student, we probably didn't know what was going on behind the scenes.
Well, at first we were going to shadow box to the beat in the first few songs and get on the heavy bag and then use the music to drive it, but not punch on the beat.
Right.
And then a few months in, we were like, wait, we could punch on the beat too.
Yeah.
So then
How fun is
it's
that?
it's been just evolving into this beautiful thing. And it's kind of cool because martial arts, there's two meanings to it. Martial means war, and arts is the artistic
art
side.
of war.
So then I'm thinking, this is cool because it's so artistic, and I really have no interest in the combative side anymore. And now I'm learning this whole new craft.
Yeah, and the way you actually, from working with you, the way you put the music to the movements, and each movement has a beat that's attached to it. And that's what draws your class in. That's what draws us to want to, we're getting like this twofold thing. We're getting, well, let's talk about the benefits of boxing. What do you get when you do these boxing classes with music? What are the benefits? What would you say?
Well, the music adds a cool element because it's almost like you fall into that flow state where you're not in your head so much.
Right, and you're not thinking of this as, oh my God, I hate this workout.
It's fun.
It's fun.
It's not
and you look forward to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then boxing, hitting something is really empowering.
Yeah.
And cathartic.
I agree. Very powerful.
So it's different than just shadow boxing because you're hitting the bag and you can relieve some stress. And then the other benefit is memory. And a lot of my older clients talk about that all the time. They're like, this is good for my mind because I'm having to remember these new patterns.
Oh, that's good because one of the things I have down here to ask you about is boxing over 50 and 60, being that I'm an over 60 person. And because of the, I think that boxing has a, you have to have a strength to it. And, as we get older, that goes down a little bit. How does it come in? How is it good for, you just sort of answer that question, is that it's a memory thing. It helps.
And the music helps everybody learn faster too. So if you can keep a beat, all of a sudden everybody's moving in unison. And when I opened up my studio, I was nervous because the 6-person class is very intimate. So I'm like, what is it going to be like when I have a 60-year-old woman, a 25-year-old African-American fighter, and a model? How are they going to interact in this setting?
I think we had that yesterday.
So I did it. I was nervous about it because I felt, as the instructor, I felt this pressure to make sure everybody feels comfortable, and there's all these different levels. How are we going to cater to everyone?
Right.
The music does it.
For you.
It does it for you.
Really interesting.
And it brings people of all walks of life together, which is really wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, you paired me up with somebody who knew what she was doing when we were boxing and hitting the pads.
One of my teacher training students.
Oh, she's a teacher training
She
student.
just started with me. That was her first day.
Okay. Really good. Yeah, because you were asking her questions so she could get the rhythm down, get the number of sequences down, and things like that. And I thought you were just asking it because she was one of your students. I
Right.
didn't realize she's teacher training. So you are now become someone who's training teachers to do what you do. So let's go back just a little bit. You have your own studio. Tell the audience where your studio is and what it's about.
It's on Lincoln in Santa Monica, and it's a small 6-person studio. And originally, it was kind of be a starting studio until we found something bigger. But now I'm loving the small, intimate classes because we're building a real community.
That's right.
And then also, I can teach more because it's more hands-on.
That's right. Yep.
And now I'm thinking, well, I could just keep this and do teacher trainings and potentially broaden my, what's the word I'm looking for?
Your scope
My
or your
scope of people that I can
yeah.
touch on by doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the teacher training, how does that work? Is it individual, or are you doing classes where everybody has to meet, like on a Saturday from this time to this time, and you're going to go through
Right now
everything?
I'm doing it individually.
Okay.
So twice a week I meet with a trainer and work with them privately on music, boxing, mindfulness, curating playlists, and all of that. And it entails a lot.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, harder than fighting.
Right. But how satisfying is it for you to be able to get what you know and impart it to the greater good, to let people in on something that potentially could really, we all have to find our passion in the exercise world, and there's a lot of different ways to do that out there, but it is, it's a process for people to try different things until, like until something hits and you realize this is where you want to be.
It's very, very gratifying. And just like the coach that I had that mentored me, if I can do that for somebody else, I mean, that's what it's all about.
That's right. That's how I feel. It's one of the reasons why I do this show and find people like you to come in and spread the word. Because sometimes you just don't know what it is that's going to work for you or where it is you want to be until someone gives you that idea or puts it out there to let you know that even being a little uncomfortable for a little while, you said something that I think is very, very important. You said that you were nervous, you had a fear, it was out of your comfort zone. And then you sat there in the parking lot. It's a great story that you sat in the parking lot and drove away. Something drove you back because you knew you had to overcome that fear. And now what are you doing? You're doing that same thing with teacher training.
Yes.
Because it's easier to go over here and not deal.
Yes.
And you're doing all those elements to help other people be able to expand too.
And so taking
amazing.
that leap was one of the best things I've ever done because I learned so much and I met so many amazing people.
Yeah.
And now I have my own studio, which was my dream all along.
Yeah, in the heart of Santa Monica, California, which is, the luxury, place to be in the world. You're 2 blocks pretty much, well, let's say 7 blocks technically, from the beach.
Yep.
And you do beach workouts too. Now, those you obviously don't take the bags with you? Or?
Right. It's more of a boot camp and it's more just for fun.
Okay.
My 2 greatest passions are surfing in the ocean and
Yeah,
boxing.
I noticed you're surfing
I combined
now.
them,
Good. Which is so great because when you have a passion in the health and fitness world like you do, to be able to get that passion beyond you and help others find theirs, there's nothing better. We're down to our last minute.
Wow,
Believe it or not,
that was
I know,
fast.
right? I told you we were
I
going to
need
go
more
really
time.
fast. I know. Tell the audience how they can reach you, where your website is, your Facebook pages, Instagrams, all of that.
Swenson Boxing on all the channels as far as social media goes, and my gym is swensonboxing.com.
Great. So, and one last question. We have an audience that's international. Are you planning on, or do you do any online training for people that want to work with you?
Great question. I'm filming my first mitt work course that you can watch online to learn how to hold mitts properly.
Oh, interesting. Okay, and that could take off from there.
We'll see what
We'll
happens.
go beyond. I want to thank you for your time coming all the way here from the beach because we're out in Burbank, sunny Burbank, California. And I want to thank my audience for listening in. And I think you can get a lot of good information. You really need to check Aaron out. I know I'm going to continue boxing with him. It's putting the gloves on is very empowering, and it's a high cardiovascular workout. And there's all kinds of wonderful benefits that you can get for it. Yeah. Especially
calcify your bones, guys. When you get older, the bones
the
get
other
weaker,
thing
right?
about the aging and boxing too, big time. So join us one day in a boxing class. You can go to Aaron's website if you don't live locally. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to see you next week. Thank you so much. Be well. Live your best life.